Hello, this is Stephen Young with the Savvy or Surrender podcast. This is episode number 1. Today, I really just wanted to talk about what the Savvy or Surrender podcast is going to be about, a little bit of information about me, why you should be interested in even listening to me, and what it's all about. So the Savvy or Surrender podcast, the SOS, is designed to be able to help business owners know more about the actual functioning of their business, the working on the business, not in the business. And so I own an accounting firm, Savvy Tax Strategies and Bookkeeping, here in Boise, Idaho. Technically Nampa, right outside of Boise. So as I've worked with business owners over the last couple of years, there are some themes that I have found and some questions, some common questions that I've been asked that I thought I would develop into a podcast. Additionally, I have been in business for over 20 years. I actually started working on tax returns over 24 years ago now. It all started because I wanted to be able to retire my wife from being a preschool teacher. We got married. We had an instant family with one, and we wanted to try for another one. And so I decided I was working on getting my degree in accounting, and I thought, well, I can start working on tax returns right away. And so that's what I did. I started doing this correspondence school. I had to mail the test to New Jersey. There was no online schooling or anything like that at the time. It was take a test on a piece of paper, mail it in a green envelope, and send it to New Jersey. I was in California at the time. And then a couple days later, I'd get it back with my results and so on. And so that went for in a couple months while I worked on getting that designation and that certification to be able to do taxes in California. So that's where it all started. Got my degree, got another degree, got a master's degree in risk management insurance, and I stayed in the insurance business for over 20 years, about 25 years. I stayed in the insurance business doing everything from underwriting to being an actual agent for a while, and then moved to Boise and became a marketing rep about 15 years ago. And then the last 6 years, I did work as an auditor for an insurance company. I looked at over 2,000 sets of financials, mostly blue collar, mostly contractors, 6,000 audits that I did over the last 6 years. And really the idea of Savvy Tax Strategies was created because of all of these sets of financials that I'd see. I would see some good ones, and then I'd see some really bad ones. And when I would talk to these business owners, again, mostly blue collar, mostly, concrete guys, HVAC guys, plumbers, electricians, good, salt, heart of the earth people, which I'll get to part of my story with that in a minute. So as I would look at these financials and I would talk to them, I would ask them, like, who's putting together your financials? And almost always it was them at night after they'd been working a 10, 12-hour day. They'd come home and they would try to figure out QuickBooks, and they would try to figure out a way to document their financials. Or their spouse would be doing it. And oftentimes their spouse was also working a full-time job, also helping with the kids and doing all of the family things that wives have to do, right? Normally it was the wife, of course, because, the plumber is generally, I do have an electrician that is a female, but generally it's a male-dominated industry. Don't cancel me on my first episode. I'm just saying what's normally what happens. So normally the spouse, the wife, is doing all of the family stuff, and then she's also trying to figure out QuickBooks. She's watching YouTube videos. She's trying to understand, why does the bank balance and the QuickBook balance not match? Why are there all these accounts receivable in the aging accounts receivable report, if they even knew to pull that report? So after talking to them, I realized there was an opportunity at a smaller level. Lots of people are being handled at the higher level, right? Lots of people are being handled when it's just, when you're making millions of dollars. You've got CPAs and you can afford those fees. But what's difficult to do is when you're making $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000. There's only a couple of $100 available there every month to be able to outsource the bookkeeping. And so that's where I created Savvy Tax Strategies and Bookkeeping. But all of this really started, to get back to my initial story of why I even got into accounting and why I love blue collar so much, is because my dad was a landscaper. And so growing up, I would go on the job sites with him. I think I was the oldest in our family, and we didn't have a lot of money to be able to pay for a babysitter or to put me into camps or whatever. And so my dad took me to work during the summertime, or when we would have days off. And I just thought I got to go with dad to work, but that was really all we knew. And so I would go and I would help do gardening. I would help sweep the driveway or whatever it was. I negotiated a contract for 50 cents a day. That was probably the the worst contract in history, but my dad agreed to it, and so I was making 50 cents a day to help sweep and wash down driveways and things like that, and eventually mow, and to where it turned out when I was 16 years old and I was driving now, he would send me on jobs and I would do sprinkler repair, and I would fix an entire sprinkler and do that and get, be able to charge $50. Now this was like, 30 something years ago, when $50 for sprinkler repair, like that was good money for a 16-year-old. Like I made $100 the entire week working in Baskin Robbins, and now I made $50 in an hour to fix a sprinkler. But so I was supposed to go blue collar. I was supposed to go into the landscaping business. And unfortunately, at the same time, while I was about a high school senior, there was a drought in California, and nobody was getting their landscaping done. And so my dad's business was not doing very well. And to the point where eventually he shut it down. They moved to Washington, actually. I stayed in California. I was going to school, had a girlfriend. I wanted to stay there. They moved to Washington for a few months, about 6 months or so, hated it, moved back. And in between that time, while they were there, we had the Northridge earthquake, number one. And then number two, also, there was some rain in California. So now not only was there no longer a drought, there was also money. And so FEMA was coming in and they were giving people money. And so they could get their landscaping done. They had lots of money to be able to spend on their house, and they had the ability to water it. And so my dad was able to come back and start his business up and get going again. But by that point, I was in school and had just decided to go ahead and work in accounting. But the point being is that I wanted to help business owners like my dad pivot and learn how to do other things, or maybe do it a different way, so that your business can still be successful in different environments. So had my dad figured out how to do drought resistant planting, or had my dad figured out artificial turf, or whatever it might be, his business could have withstood the test of a drought, the test of a depression or a recession. I guess I should say there was no depression, but slower economic times. And he had been around for over 20 years. So don't get me wrong, he was a good businessman, and he was an excellent landscaper and had a great business reputation well before online stuff, well before getting a 5-star rating on Google and all those things. But had he pivoted just a little bit, he would have been able to figure out, I can make my business work slightly different and still be successful. And so that's really where the Savvy, the SOS, the Savvy or Surrender podcast is coming from, is how can we help business owners to pivot when necessary? Or what else can they look at? Can they look at their financial statements to be more than just simply looking at financial statements to file taxes? Are they more than just a piece of paper that my accountant gives me at the end of the year and I have no idea what they mean? Can they actually maybe tell us what the future holds? Can we look at it, understand the cash flow, understand how our business is doing? Maybe we need to adjust our pricing. Maybe we need to reduce our expenses. What exactly can we do to be able to, just by looking at the financials, to be able to be more successful in business, to be more profitable? And so Savvy Tax Strategies and Bookkeeping, the main accounting firm that I own, the whole purpose behind that is, we do everything, right? We do the bookkeeping, we do the payroll, we do tax preparation for personal and business. That's the compliance side. And quite honestly, a lot of that is going to go away when we look at AI and artificial intelligence and what it's going to do. That's just going to go away. But we have this other piece where I'm a certified Profit First professional. There's a book by Mike Michalowicz, who I'll have on this podcast, hopefully here, one day anyways, when I'm big enough that Mike wants to come on my podcast. But I was actually just on a conference call with him yesterday and talking about Profit First and how to help business owners kind of withstand the curve of challenges in business, and how to be able to really surge out of a challenge, an economic recovery, or whatever it might be. So anyways, that's an aside. So the book Profit First, if you don't have it, go on Amazon and get it. It's usually somewhere between $10 and $12, depending on Prime Day and all that kind of stuff, and you can pick it up. It's a great book. You can also go on my website, savvytaxstrategies.com/quiz or /profit, I believe it is, one of those two, or just go on savvytaxstrategies.com. You'll be able to find it from the main site. But I give you a quiz to let you know how profitable you are. And then from there, you can also get the core chapters of the book so that you can at least understand the concept of it. But basically, the concept of Profit First is, if you remember, your grandma probably did this. Maybe your parents did it. Maybe even you did it, depending on your age. But most youngsters here don't do it. But that's when you would take the cash and you would put it in the envelopes for everything that you needed to buy throughout the month, week, whatever, till next payday. Dave Ramsey has made this popular as well, if you listen to Dave Ramsey. And so it's essentially taking a certain amount of money for groceries, a certain amount of money for rent, a certain amount of money for gas. And when you're out of money in that envelope, that's it. You don't have any more money from that. Either you have to take money from another envelope and take some money from groceries, so you don't have as much groceries to be able to buy gas, or you don't have as much money for fun now that because you have to buy more groceries because you spent more money. It's the same concept without taking all the cash and everything, but it's having multiple bank accounts to be able to help you become more profitable, to be more disciplined in your accounting approach. And so most business owners do what I call bank balance bookkeeping. They look at their bank balance, they decide how many bills or what bills might be coming out of it, and how much money they have left to be able to spend to do whatever else, or to take out and be able to do for their own personal expenses. And so with Profit First, we're able to take that big plate of money in your bank balance, and we separate it out into 4 different accounts. So you have the main money coming into one account, and then you have a profit account, you have a personal or a business owner pay account, and you have a tax account, and then you have an operating expense account. And so you have the money the book says every 10th and 25th. When I work with business owners, we work with what makes sense for your business. A lot of my contractors, they pay every Friday. So it makes more sense for them to allocate the money into the different accounts every week. So every Tuesday, they wake up, or I do it, or we have the system automatically do it, where they put 10% in one account, 15% in another account, 15% in that account, whatever it might be, whatever the allocations are that we determine. And that money is automatically dispersed into those accounts. And then when the business owner goes and looks at their accounts, they're able to see in that specific bank account what money they have available to be able to use. And so that's the Profit First methodology, and it gets into expenses, it gets into profit margins, how much they're charging. There's a lot more to the book than just what the book says and what the book talks about, and that's why you use a certified Profit First professional to help you implement it. Because if there's anywhere that I have found that the book has a challenge, or people have a challenge with the book, is they read the book and they get really excited. And they're like, this is going to be fantastic for my business. I'm going to be profitable. I'm going to make these changes. It's going to work. And they fail in 2 areas. Number one, they fail at actually implementing it. They get excited and then they don't do it. Maybe they go to their bank and they open up 4 or 5 accounts, but they don't actually start the allocation part of it. They don't do the math. They don't figure out how much they need to allocate to each account. And it fails. And then they just have some extra accounts sitting there, maybe with a little bit of money. Maybe they do it once and then they just stop because it becomes too hard, or because there's not enough money in the account and they're not sure how to actually allocate it. The second area where business owners fail when they're trying to implement profit first is they don't actually adjust their expenses and their outgoing money for those different accounts. So for example, if you're making $100,000 a year in your business and you're spending $100,000 a year in your business, just because you take that money and you start putting it into different accounts, let's say like a profit account, you start putting 5% into a profit account right away because you're so gung-ho and you want to do that. Just because you do that doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're profitable and you make more money. Now all that means is one of your accounts is going to be short 5%. And so when bills come in, either you have bills that you can't pay, number one. Number two, you have to take that money back out of that profit account to be able to pay that bill, or you don't pay attention to it, you pay the bill anyways, and then now you've got overdraft fees, and now you've got these $24 charges over and over and over again hitting your account, and you say, whoa, profit first doesn't work, or at least it doesn't work for me. That's not the case. You simply need somebody to help you, guide you through the process of getting it implemented. And once it's implemented, once you have the system in place, it typically takes anywhere from 6 to 12 months, maybe 18 months, depending on the business, of ramping up and allocating to the full percentages and making the changes in your business, adjusting prices, adjusting profit margins, adjusting expenses. Once you do those things and you truly understand your financial statements, you understand your cash flow, you understand your allocations of moving that money into the different accounts, next thing you know, you're making really good money. You're making a good profit. You're paying yourself what you should be paying yourself as a business owner. And there's really 2 areas where you should be paying yourself as a business owner. Number one, you're an employee of that business. You should be paying yourself a paycheck. You should be paying yourself money to be an employee of your business. That's number one. Number 2 is you are a business owner. It is an asset. It is an investment. You should be making a profit. You should be getting additional money for taking that risk of investing into the business. That's the whole idea of profit first. That's the whole idea of a profit account. So then every quarter we take that profit account and we say, okay, at the end of the quarter, we've got $10,000. What are we going to do with that profit? Are we going to divide it up? So here's what I do. I'll just tell you what I do. I take half of my profit account every quarter, and half of it goes to do something fun. Right now, we are fixing up our backyard. So we're making our backyard look better. We decided to not go on a vacation this year and just invest into our backyard and make that our vacation, make that our oasis. So we just got some concrete done. We got some pavers done. We got a waterfall going. It's looking pretty good. That's where half the money goes. The other half I put into a building fund. I'm buying the suite that we are in, the office that we are in. And so I'm putting half of the profit account into a separate account, into another bank account, and having that money sit there for a down payment for my building so that I own this piece of property, so that I'm a real estate investor as well. So that's how I handle it. You could handle it differently. Maybe you want to pay down debt. So you take half of that profit account and you say, I'm going to pay off the debt. Or you say, I need to invest into different pieces of equipment or whatever it is. I want to build up the business bank account. And so you take half that profit account and you reinvest it into the business. Whatever you want to do with it, but we specify what we want to do with it. We're intentional with it. That's the whole idea behind it. So that's profit first. Making yourself way more profitable, making yourself way more money. And the whole idea behind that is, number one, it's also value driven, right? So we're purposeful, we're intentful, then we're also value driven. If we were to turn around and sell our business, we now have this proof in our financials of how profitable we are. We have this account that we can show a prospective buyer, look how profitable we are. We've got the system in place to make a lot of money in our business and to make a profit in our business, as well as paying you. This is why I'm asking for a premium in you buying my business, because I've shown you the system to make it more profitable. And then number three, it's specific in written. And you have a written detailed plan so that you have a system, a process of going through and making your business one, more profitable, two, easier for somebody else to come in and start doing right away. Okay, so now you've made way more money. We've got profit first out of the way. The next part, the second part of the advisory side of my business is the tax strategy stuff. So I looked at it and I said, okay, now you're making way more money. You've got this profit first, you're making way more money. What do we do with it? Do we simply just have a tax account and we pay lots of money in taxes? You know, that whole age-old saying that accountants like to say, well, congratulations, you're paying a lot more money because you made a lot more money. How about no? How about we say, I will pay my fair share and not a dollar more? Or how about we say, we the people of the United States of America have a God-given right to pay as little in taxes as possible. I honestly believe that our founding fathers, we started this country based on the fact that we didn't like taxes, right? We had the Tea Party and no representation without, or no taxation without representation. So it's all already there in our fabric of of America. So we look at it and I say we the people of the United States know how to spend our money better than the government does, better than sending it off to some other country, better than supporting causes that shouldn't be supported, whatever your political beliefs are. And I did a reel and Facebook ad right now is going around that says, you know, if you don't support our current political leaders, you should pay them as little as possible in taxes so that they have less money. And if you do support our current political leaders, then you should pay them as little in taxes as possible so that they don't give it away to other governments. So the whole idea then is now using tax strategies to save as much money in taxes. So we're going to make way more money and we're going to save way more money. Going to make way more money with profit first, save way more money with tax strategies. And that's the whole idea of the Savvy or Surrender podcast. We are going to help you be way more savvy so that you can be a good business owner, so that you'll understand marketing, so that you'll understand financials, so that you'll understand being a solid business owner, working on the business, not just in the business. And then we're going to implement tax strategies. The IRS code implements ideas or abilities for you to be able to save money on your taxes. They incentivize you as a real estate investor, as a business owner, to save money on your taxes because they want that money to be flooded into the system so that more money, more economy can happen. And so we just simply take those things out of the tax code and apply them to your business. So that's what the Savvy or Surrender podcast is going to be about. We are going to help you implement those ideas. We're going to talk about profit first. We're going to talk about tax strategies. We're going to get other experts in here and talk about other parts of business as well to help you be savvy, because we don't want you to surrender in business. Be savvy, and I'll talk to you later.